Lumpy's Minecraft Adventure, Episode 14. Lumpy was awake. As usual, he was the first one up. Except it wasn't morning. It was cold. But they were sleeping in an inn. Why was it cold? Lumpy looked around. It was dark, but there were some torches lit. But it was cold, like somebody opened a window. He tried to get back to sleep. Everyone else was asleep. So he closed his eyes and pretended he was asleep. Maybe he could fall back asleep. All of a sudden, ah! Blockface was screaming in Lumpy's ear. Lumpy shot straight up out of bed. What is it? I told you if I saw something, I would tell you by screaming in your ear. Don't you remember? Oh, yeah. Thanks. Is this going to be a regular thing? I don't know. Maybe. Depends on how effective it is. Well, what did you see, Blockface? Everyone else was still asleep because, of course, they couldn't hear Blockface screaming. Lumpy looked around and he was envious of everybody else still snuggled in their bed. What is it, Blockface? What did you see? Something funny's going on. There's blocks disappearing on the inn. What? Yeah. Watch. Just watch. Look right over there. That explains why it suddenly got cold like somebody opened a window. Lumpy looked over and stared at the wall. And sure enough, a block right in the middle of the inn disappeared. I think we have Endermen nearby, Lumpy said. I think you're right, Blockface said. Lumpy took a torch, and Blockface took his proper place right in it. And Lumpy walked toward the door. A block right next to the door disappeared, right as Lumpy touched the door handle. So Lumpy waited. He didn't want to be face to face with an Enderman. He didn't even have his armor on or anything. He was just in his jammies. They were cute bunny jammies with fuzzy bunny slippers. He found them in the store that Anderson had. They were on sale, half price. I guess no boy wanted bunny jammies. So they were on discount. Lumpy did think that Kitty Ranger might like these bunny jammies. But he didn't have time for thinking about that stuff right now. Because there was an Enderman outside. So Lumpy froze like a statue. And he didn't dare look through the hole. Because he knew what would happen if he made eye contact with an Enderman. He waited till he heard the sound of a disappearing Enderman. He'd come to know it by now. And it was gone. So he slowly opened the door and looked outside. There was over 100 Endermen, and they were taking Anderson's entire city apart. It was starting to look like Swiss cheese. Lumpy screamed, "Wake up, everybody! We're under attack!" Everybody could hear that because it was Lumpy that said it. Everybody shot out of bed. Kitty Ranger grabbed her bow and arrow. Sir Joseph grabbed his sword. Lumpy took off his fuzzy bunny slippers. Anderson grabbed his sword.
Use a sword.
Yeah, Anderson has all kinds of stuff. Blockface swirled around screaming. "Ah!" And every time he would swirl in a big circle screaming, he would pass through a torch. And there was torches all around the room. And so when he would go through a torch, it sounded like this as he screamed, "Ah, ah, 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 ah," to everybody else, because that's when they could hear him. It was kind of weird. It was like an alarm was going off. Everybody said, "What's going on? What's happening?" Lumpy said, "Endermen are attacking the city. The whole town. They're taking blocks." Anderson was really upset, and understandably so. All of his hard work, and these Endermen were stealing it. "Well, what are we going to do?" "I don't know, there's too many of them." Sir Joseph said, "I have an idea. Anderson, do you have any glowstone?" Yeah, I do, in my store." "Okay, we're going to need as much of it as you can find. Everyone else find as many torches. Make as many torches as you can." Anderson ran through his underground tunnel to his store, grabbed all the glowstone that he could carry, and brought it back to the inn. Holes were being made throughout every single building in the town. Lumpy could hear Nightmare neighing like she was scared. Even though Endermen and horses don't really bother each other. "Okay, here's what we do," Sir Joseph said. "Start placing glowstone and torches everywhere. We need to brighten this place up as bright as we can." So everybody grabbed as much as they could carry, and they ran around town, placing as much glowstone and torches as they could. It wasn't the best thing to do, but what else could they do? How do you scare an Enderman away? Well, it took them the whole night. And remember, nobody look in the Enderman's eyes. It took them the whole night, but they saved a lot of the town. But every building looked like Swiss cheese. The sun started coming up. What are we going to do? Look at this place. All my hard work. "Don't worry, Anderson," Kitty Ranger said. "We're here. We can help you fix it." "Oh, that's very nice of you." Sir Joseph said, "We need to come up with a plan if we're going to get rid of these Endermen." The Enderman King said we need 12 eyes of the Ender. But apparently they can't just be any eyes of the Ender. They have to be special ones for some reason. Well, how are we going to do that? There's apparently no problem finding Endermen, but we need to find the 12 Endermen that help rule in the kingdom of the Enderman King. So they all sat in the drafty inn, eating stew, talking and making plans. Everybody made suggestions. Some were absolutely ridiculous. Some were pretty good ideas, but they'd take too much time. Eventually, everybody agreed on the strategy. All right, here's what we're going to do. Sir Joseph knew all about portals. And he knew that there was something, although he didn't really know all about it. He knew that there was something called an Ender portal. But he'd never seen one. They looked through the book and found pictures. And Anderson and Kitty Ranger also talked about what they knew about it. That it was a gateway to the end. And that Endermen were there. A lot of them. So maybe we can build a fake Ender portal. And that would attract Endermen. And we just wait for the 12 rulers, the 12 Enderman rulers to show up. Because if there's a door to their land, maybe they would be tempted to go. That's a great idea, but what do we do when Endermen show up and we're going to be standing there unprepared to fight these guys? Well, let's see. There's Kitty Ranger, and there's Sir Joseph, and there's Anderson, and there's me, and there's Blockface. So we've got a good group of people here. Maybe we could take down an Enderman if it's not the kind we're looking for. Hey, wait a minute, Sir Joseph said. Didn't you say something about carving pumpkins? That's right. If you carve pumpkins and put them on your head, apparently the Enderman can't see you, Sir Joseph said. Anderson, do you have a pumpkin patch? Of course I do. I have everything. Well, we're going to have a Halloween party tonight. And we're all going to carve pumpkins. That's great. So they all marched down to the pumpkin patch. And they all picked pumpkins. Lumpy needed a giant pumpkin because he has a giant head. They all picked their pumpkins. No, Lumpy has an extra big head. It's not twice as big. That would be silly.
It would be like this big.
So they all picked their favorite looking pumpkins. And they all went to Anderson's home. They all carved pumpkins. And then Kitty Ranger said, hey, we should go trick-or-treating. Well, if we go trick-or-treating, where's the nearest village? And are they even going to know what trick-or-treating is? I don't know. Some villages don't know what trick-or-treating is. But where I come from, Kitty Ranger said, yeah, where we come from, Sir Joseph said, there's the thing called trick-or-treating, and we all go get candy. So they decided to have a little bit of fun that night. And they carved their pumpkin heads and put them on their heads so that no Enderman would come and bother them. And they ran to the nearest villager village. And they went and knocked on the doors of all the villagers at night. Most of them were asleep. And they knocked, and when they opened the door, they said, trick or treat. And the Endermen just stood there like, not the Endermen, the villagers opened the door and said, huh? Like, what on earth? So Kitty Ranger had to explain that the villager needed to give them candy or that they would play a trick on them. And so they all got candy. Every single villager was kind enough to hand them a slice of cake or some rotten zombie flesh or some spider eyes because they didn't have yummy candy bars or donuts or anything like that. So then they all laughed with all their bags full of pieces of cake and spider eyes and zombie flesh in the same bag. That's pretty gross. They went back to Anderson Town and finalized their plans. In the morning, they would go outside of the town because Anderson didn't want any more Endermen showing up and destroying his hard work. They figured they might as well go north in the morning and make a fake ender portal and see what would happen. So they all went to sleep, and all the glowstone and torches were still burning. Their stomachs were full of cake and rotten flesh. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's gross. And they all knew that they had a big day ahead of them. The sun came up, and Lumpy was glad that Blockface didn't scream in his ear. Lumpy was the first one awake, and he was sitting on his bed talking to Blockface, who was floating right in front of him. Everybody else woke up and looked over and just saw Lumpy talking to himself. Hey, Lumpy, are you okay? Huh? Yeah, I'm fine. Are you sure you're talking to yourself? Oh, no, I'm talking to Blockface. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because otherwise that just looks, a little crazy talking to yourself. So they all got up and marched north for about 2 miles to a little forest where it was dark. And they started digging a hole. They dug a hole and made a room inside. And as they were digging, they started decorating it the way the book showed a picture of the ender portal. And they could hear noise, a noise coming from underground. Bang, 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 bang. All of a sudden, right where the ender portal was going to be, a hole opened up in the ground. And 2 heads popped out. Shiny heads. Like gold heads popped out. There were 2 miners mining exactly where they decided to dig. Oh, everybody was startled, but nobody was scared. Wow. The 2 miners jumped out of the hole. They looked like they were related. Not because they both had gold armor from head to toe and diamond pickaxes. These guys were really looking good. Hello, what are you doing on our claim? They said. Oh, we didn't know this was anybody's claim. We're just building an ender portal. A what? You're building an ender portal? Yeah, we're on a special mission. So Lumpy explained everything to these guys. Well, I'm sorry, how rude of me. Let me introduce myself. I'm Lumpy. And this is Anderson and Sir Joseph and Kitty Ranger. And who are you guys? Well, I'm James, and this is my son Logan. We're miners. Well, you look like very successful miners, Joseph said. Well, we don't want to brag, but yeah, we're pretty good. Yeah, I'll say the whole room was sparkling from their gold armor and their diamond pickaxes. Have you ever seen a chamber with an ender portal in it? Well, we haven't seen one, but we've heard all about it and we've seen pictures and drawings. Does it look like this? They opened the book. Yeah, that's what I understand it is. Well, can you help us? We want this to look as close to an ender portal as possible. We need to trick some Endermen into coming in here. Whoa, you guys are on some weird mission. Why do you guys want to run into Endermen? Well, we'll explain that to you later, but do you want to help us out? Sure, that's what we do. Well, we're going to need some material that looks like ender pearls and eyes of ender, and just make it look like this. So can you go? Sure thing. They just started swinging their axes. Back down into the ground they went, and their pickaxes clanged and clanged, and the sound got softer and softer. They had worked all day long. Hey, Sir Joseph, would you mind tracking down those guys? It's been a long time and we haven't heard from them. And you know, miners, they can stay underground and have no idea what time it is. Would you mind going down, telling them where we're going to be? Because we're all getting tired. Sir Joseph said, of course I will. Kitty Ranger said, I'll go with you, Sir Joseph. It's never a good idea to just travel alone. Okay, meet us back down in Anderson Town and let them know that they can come and stay at the inn, Anderson said. Awesome. So Lumpy and Blockface and Anderson went back to Anderson Town to make some food, and Sir Joseph and Kitty Ranger went down to find their new friends, James and Logan. Blockface decided that he would check up on everybody, make sure everyone was safe. And that night, they blocked the holes in the inn and started fixing things and decided to make some more plans just to be prepared. It was getting late and they were all tired and really dirty and smelly and sweaty. So they all took baths. They all had a nice piece of cake for dessert and decided that they would have a better plan and a better idea of what they would do in the morning, because they couldn't think clear at night, especially when you're that tired. So they all went to sleep very easily that night. Dun 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 dun. You did? Why? You like the gold shiny heads? Yeah. Good.